three decisions that the University of Florida has made. First was the departure of defense coordinator Patrick Toney to a defensive assistant role with the Arizona Cardinals in the NFL. Shortly after that, he announced that that new linebacker coach of the Alabama Crimson Tide and former defensive coordinator of Southern Miss, Austin Armstrong, would be joining the staff. And just a few moments after that, announced that William Piegler, tight end coach for the University of Florida, would be joining the staff in an undefined role right now with the Arizona Cardinals as well. So they can send the jet to Gainesville, pick up them and their wives, and head back to the same destination. So, gentlemen, on paper, what are your thoughts?
On paper, what are your thoughts, Nicholas? I think it's on paper. Let's just talk about the guy that left. So Patrick Toney. The fans were just not feeling it. The results wasn't there. I chalked it up to, I'm gonna get this guy opportunities just to see what he does with his guys. But immediately, I don't think there was a lot of adjusting on both sides of the ball. I don't think there's a lot of adjusting to the personnel. So there was a lot to be desired in that fashion. But I was gonna give him an opportunity to see what year two looked like, man. And there was some word on our end and behind the scenes about him possibly looking around back in November, interviewing for the Baylor job. So we knew there was some smoke about him possibly looking around. That could be a possible replacement at DC. Wasn't cheering for it, but was definitely welcoming any type of change at that position after what the defense was looking last year. So he departs to Arizona. We get a hire of Austin
Armstrong.
I was about to say Roberts for some reason. Austin Armstrong comes over from after Bama hired him at linebacker coach via Southern Miss. A lot of good things on paper. He's 29 years old, youth there. Spent some time with Kirby in 2019. Spent some time with Billy Napier at Louisiana in 2020. So there's some continuities. There's a relationship there. The terminology and a lot of things are staying the same. I like the youth. I watched a lot of his film breakdowns on YouTube. There's a lot of him just breaking down on a lot of what Georgia was doing to us when we had trash that year and a whole lot of other defenses. So I like his terminology. I like his philosophy on defense. I like that he's young. He's going to be a recruiter. It's just his first stint in the SEC. Nick Saban spoke highly of him. We just got to see how it all plays out, but I'm not mad at the change at all. And Billy seemed to be prepared for it.
Yeah, Nick, before you hop in, Nick Saban was quoted on Southern Miss's defense. I would equate their defense to an SEC type defense in terms of the way they've played games this year. At the time, they were third nationally in rushing defense and 12th in total defense overall. Statistically, on top of that, they finished the season third in tackles for loss, fifth in sacks, seventh in interceptions, third in fourth down conversion, stoppage rate, and 45th in scoring defense. Nick, go ahead.
Yeah, it's still to be determined what his role will be. Obviously, you already have Sean Spencer as the co-defensive coordinator. Do you attach a co to a 29-year-old up-and-coming coach? I don't know. You already did with Patrick Toney. Before I get into Austin on Patrick, there was I think the biggest thing that I held against Toney was that, from what I was told by sources, is that there was a little bit of a rift between him and Corey Raymond in the sense that Corey Raymond didn't feel like his expertise or his opinions and his suggestions were taken into account in a weekly game plan. And I don't know that Corey Raymond will be sending a Christmas card to Glendale this coming December. Patrick Toney is thought to be a great up-and-coming mind. Billy Napier said, ever since he's known Patrick, he's wanted to go to the NFL. So thank you for the year of service, and enjoy the dry, humid air out in Arizona. To me, I don't know if you got Armstrong to leave Tuscaloosa by saying, hey, we'll make you co-DC. I think Sean Spencer would be fine just in that role on his own. Going back, I was writing a story before we get on here. Some of the
Has Sean Spencer called the defense before? Just curious.
I don't know.
So Nick, to pontificate here on a few things, right? Austin Armstrong, linebacker coach, former defensive coordinator. The Gators already employ a linebacker coach in Jay Bateman. The Gators do have Sean Spencer as a co-defensive coordinator, and certainly Corey Raymond is a name that's been around the game for a long time that could probably warrant that title as well. Obviously, you don't have 3 co-defensive coordinators, but certainly without that defensive coordinator title, certainly there is some question marks about then Jay Bateman's role if that is not his role.
I don't think Jay Bateman would get a co-defensive coordinator role.
I don't think so either. But then you have a little bit of stalemate there at linebacker coach.
It's definitely gonna be some shifting. Something's gonna happen when it pertains to linebacker. I do like that Corey Raymond's probably gonna have that whole defensive back room. He was sharing it with Patrick Toney, who's directing the safety. So I like the prospects of keeping him a little bit longer, because I was nervous that we wouldn't keep Corey Raymond, to be honest, this past year. So do like the possibilities of Corey taking over that whole room. We don't know how it all shake out, but linebacker coach is definitely something we got to see how it all plays out, because right now we have too many linebacker coaches, right?
Right, and theoretically, you add Mike Peterson in there, who I believe has outside linebackers and defensive ends as well. So certainly you're not going to have 3 in that particular role. I'm not sure that Austin Armstrong, while it's being reported that he is coming over as a defensive coordinator, that has not been announced yet. But certainly Corey Raymond would likely take over the entirety of the defensive backroom unless there is a shift and the Gators do make another coaching move to bring in potentially a safeties coach or somebody else on that defensive side of the ball.
So Armstrong, just looking at his Southern Miss defense, they gave up a third down conversion rate of 37.7, which was 54th nationally, 3.9 yards per rushing attempt, top 40 in the country, 7.6 yards per passing attempt, 87th nationally, 5.3 yards per play, 51st nationally, 1.7 turnovers per game, 31st, 0.39 points per play, 39th nationally, and they sacked opposing quarterbacks on 9.7% of passing attempts, which was top 7 in the country. So it would appear in an aggressive defense, one that tries to get after the passer, and you see that in the sack numbers, but you also see that in the yards per passing attempt. When your sack numbers are 7th nationally, that means, hey, you're getting to the quarterback. But if you're using a bunch of resources to get to the quarterback, you're leaving some guys on some islands, and that leaves with a higher yards per passing attempt there. Not going to go out on a limb and say this is a Todd Grantham style of engage 8, but it does appear that he has an aggressive mentality when it comes to calling defenses.
Yeah, I was watching some of the YouTube, and a lot of it's predicated off of I was just watching the scheme they had versus trash. I'm gonna tweet this clip off of YouTube in a minute when we get off of the show. But a lot of their blitzing schemes are predicated on motions and which direction the running back was maybe going out on a route or showing like blitz pickup. I think it's very unique, but it's all kind of predicated in the defense. Like they're gonna send pressure a lot depending on who moves where, and it's just implemented in the defense where the players know exactly when to blitz and all that. So I like the aggression of it. I like the creeper style, because that creeper style that Patrick Toney had, he still has that element of it. We didn't see a whole lot of that creeper, I don't think, in last year, because we was trying to just kind of bend but not break last year a whole lot. But he has that creeper style and a lot of exotic blitzes that hopefully we see this year, man, with the improved intel and personnel, I would say.
Absolutely. Nick, you mentioned all of Austin Armstrong's numbers there at Southern Miss, and certainly Florida is desperate for defensive help. They finished 97th in total defense last season, giving up nearly 29 points a game, and then ranked 3rd from the bottom, just ahead of Colorado and South Florida on allowing third down conversions at 49.7, which is just an absurd number. I think a lot of us expected some changes to this coaching staff, especially on the defensive side of the ball. We're not sure if Patrick Toney was going to be that at the time. That changed, but as somebody, as Silk mentioned, did interview for the defensive coordinator's position at Baylor, and then has certainly been reaching out to his network to find additional opportunities. We certainly wish Patrick Toney and his wife the best, as I'm sure they're ready and excited to move on. Any other final thoughts on Austin Armstrong? Again, 29 years old, is going to be potentially, again, has not been announced yet, the youngest defensive coordinator at the Power 5 level.
I pose a question to Nick. What do you think about the step down from defensive coordinator to linebackers coach? There's been a lot of opinions and takes about how Alabama vision him in the future, but he takes a step back from defensive coordinator to linebacker coach to go to Alabama. What's your opinion on that?
To me, it's it can be viewed as a step back. To me, it's not. If you have the opportunity to go to Alabama, to be on that staff, just the track record of what being on Alabama's staff. I mean, look at Florida. Billy Napier is the head coach at the University of Florida after being on Nick Saban's staff. So to me, sure. If you take White out and put it over, the schools going from defensive coordinator to linebackers coach, you look at that and you're like, what do you get, a DUI or something? What the hell happened here? But to go from Southern Miss to Alabama, that in itself is a bigger opportunity to me. You're not going to go from Southern Miss defensive coordinator to, head coach. You can go from Alabama linebacker coach to a promotion and get a head coaching job, depending on what, your goals are as a coach.
Nick, I do want to read off some quotes from Billy Napier, and we appreciate Zach Albaverdi for sharing this.
Go subscribe
to On3 Gators Online, always running great deals. And then you can see Nick posting on the message boards and then me chiming in every once in a while. Billy Napier said of Patrick Toney, first of all, with Patrick, I've spent 5 years with the guy. He's been a pivotal piece of our success. Can't say enough about what the guy brought to our organization and our teams. Just a very relentless worker and learner, very selfless. I'm very happy for him. Ever since I've met the guy, he's wanted to go to the NFL. You think about his experience as a coach. He's a self-made guy. He goes on to say he really went out of his way to do a ton of professional development to expose himself to really good coaches. He's worked at Southeastern, Sam Houston State, UTSA, Louisiana, and Florida. This is a great opportunity in front of him, and he gets to chase that dream he's always wanted to do. So really proud of the guy. Patrick has been a good coach as we've had. So he's going to do great, and I'm excited for him and Courtney. Again, at 30 years old, he was the youngest defensive coordinator in the Power 5, and the Gators hire Austin Armstrong, which could be even younger. So, gentlemen, obviously a lot of just moving around that will likely take place in the defensive side of the ball. Austin Armstrong, again, a linebackers coach and former defensive coordinator, is going to join Sean Spencer, co-defensive coordinator and interior defensive lineman, Mike Peterson, who focuses on outside defensive line as well as outside linebackers, and Corey Raymond, as well as Jay Bateman, who is the current linebackers coach at the University of Florida. Before we move on to William Peagler, I do want to thank Chris Sorley for his donation. Thank you so much. And then Jordan Davis commented that he played against Austin in high school. He was a center and linebacker, knew what we were running on both sides of the ball, calling out our plays. He went to the All-Stars game and got to know him. Dude is like Rain Man. So shout out to Jordan Davis as well for also making that All-Star game. Quick little, pat on the back for him as well.
Yeah, I seen Jordan Davis send out a tweet when we was on Twitter saying, man, I feel like a loser and a failure, man. This guy is 29 and defensive coordinator. I do think he's coming in as DC. I don't think he leads Bama under a similar title or role. Let's just keep it a bean. It is Alabama. So there's no way this guy is going to upseat himself and come over just for the same lateral move. I don't, and that's not even a lateral move.
Let's keep it a bean. Alabama to Florida in the current climate, not a lateral.
It's not a lateral move, man. So if he's coming in an elevated position. I expect it to be DC. 29 years old. I don't know how much of an involvement the Spencer maybe have in the play calling. That may be something else, but role title wise, I expect him to come in as co-DC vibes.
And absolutely. Shout out to Jordan Davis for being a high school football legend, all-star.
Yep. Humble brag for Jordan Davis. Again, the Gators do announce the departure of Patrick Toney and will likely have an announcement for Austin Armstrong here shortly. On the opposite,
I was writing a story. I went to go find his Alabama page. The Alabama page is showing a 404 error. So I think
they got him out of there. They got to be.
I think Nick Saban was.
I know Nick livid.
Well, I know the Alabama fans are livid too. The message
livid.
boards are bumping right now.
Yeah, man. They still was looking for a safety coach because they lost the safety coach to Dion Prime out of Colorado, but they hired this guy like 8 days ago. We poached him, and reading the message boards, they were saying that he was they were only okay with the still hiring because they brought this guy in, a young up and comer, like my man said, considered as a genius protege, as a defensive guy. So a lot of the fans were a little bit more welcoming Steele back into the Bama fold. Long as my man Austin was heading over there, and that kind of hit the fan real quick.